his opening statement, and then we'll move towards the program.
Good afternoon, and I'm glad to see all of you here. And I'm honored to be here with you, and I'm honored to be serving in the House, and I'm honored to be a Texan. And you know, just like with our families, right? Everything in my family isn't perfect. But it's my family who made me who I am. And in the same way, what we have here in Texas with our monuments, they're a part of who we are. And I'm here just to let you know that I do support monument protection. And then, of course, especially with what the Alamo and the Cenotaph have been going under, we must protect the Alamo and the Cenotaph. You know, there's been things in history that happened where people were outnumbered against great odds, but only with the Alamo, they weren't given quarter. They weren't given an option. And to change that history of these three men opposing a great military, wanting to take away their guns, liberties, and other things, and the fact that not only did they not back down, but they weren't given quarter. We need to remember that history. We need to remember that bravery and not change it. Because, you know, as you study history, you hear about one civilization conquering another. A big threat was that they would destroy all their history. Destroy, if they had any documents then, they would destroy them. If they had monuments, they would destroy them. Because they wanted people to never remember those people were there. We need to keep history. We need to keep our monuments so we can learn, our kids can learn, and as people always say, so we don't repeat bad mistakes. But we can also remember and model bravery and courage. So thank you so much for having me here. Honored to be with you. Have a great day.
Get out of the way! Get out of the way! Get out of the way! Thank you. I ain't going anywhere. I'm going right here. Bunch of damn gum heathens. What are you trying to do? Stop it.
All right, guys. I got an opening statement. Like I said, Representative Slayton had to get back to the House before I intended to do this before, but we'll start it right now. Historic monuments are the cultural heritage of any state and country. They speak 1,000 words about the place, its traditions, the historic significance. Monuments take the path of knowing our past and connecting it to our future. Societies have long sought to protect and preserve their cultural heritage for reasons ranging from education to historical research to the desire to reinforce a sense of identity. In times of war and conflict, cultural identity and cultural heritage become more important. Buildings, monuments, and symbols of culture that speak in shared roots acquired and increased significance. Accordingly, they can become targets of violent and oppressive actions that seek to destroy the symbols that are valued by Texans. Every state in the United States of America compromises many historical monuments. Texas leads the nation with a rich and unique history, especially when it comes to the Texas Revolution and the Civil War. While some monuments are under threat and getting destroyed, some are intact, but the left's cancel culture is still seeking to destroy them. Today, many states are making efforts to save their historical monuments so that its cultural heritage does not suffer or become lost forever. Unfortunately, Texas does not lead the way. We are falling behind 13 other states that have passed a monument protection bill already. Why are Texas monuments so important to the people of Texas? I can tell you several reasons. They have an intrinsic value and provide a sneak peek into our heritage. They give a deeper insight into our cultures and traditions of the old. We know the quality of life people had over 100 years ago. Monuments endow us with the details about a variety and quality of materials used back in those past days. They provide a detailed idea about the craftsmanship and the mining. We recognize the architectural intelligence of people in the past that compiled huge structures in the period when there was little to no technology. It becomes easy to analyze the history of the place and viewing its historical monuments. They increase the significance of the site of people from far off places as they come to visit. Monuments increase the incoming of foreign currency to countries by foreign visitors. They help in educating and imparting every bit and pieces of information and past that make things more interesting. They assist in providing the detail of entertainment and educational value of the place. Some historical monuments with inscriptions provide us the details about the past and their mode of communication. Monuments maintain a sense of primacy and heritage of the city and make it more valuable for the state and country. It helps us to connect with our cultural roots and traditions emotionally. And lastly, historical monuments are the pride of their respective states. They showcase the cultural importance of the place and the architectural intelligence of the people. With these points, it becomes clear that historical monuments are very precious to us. Their conservation, the upkeep, and proper maintenance are also essential to enhance their life. It will assist our future generations to get to know their ancestors and enlighten with an abundance of knowledge. The Democrats want to destroy and to rewrite our history. George Orwell said the most effective way to destroy people is to deny and obliterate their own understanding of history. In the former Soviet Union, censorship, rewriting of history, and eliminating undesirable people became part of the Soviets' effort to ensure that the correct ideology and political spin was put to their history. Deviation from official propaganda was punished by confinement in labor camps and even execution. Although we haven't reached this point here in the United States, this is the direction that the far left wants to take us. In San Antonio, Mayor Ron Nirenberg and District Councilman Roberto Trevino had the Travis Park monument removed in the dead of night in 2017. Former Dallas Mayor Rawlins removed the statue of Robert E. Lee with Confederate rider in 2017. He also wanted to remove the Confederate War Memorial in Pioneer Park, which sits in a cemetery, which absolutely blows holes in the theory of Democrats when they say, oh, they should be in a cemetery where they belong. Again, in 2017, San Antonio Mayor, along with General Land Commissioner George P. Bush, wanted to move the Alamo Cenotaph 600 feet off of the Alamo footprint. This is Texas Freedom Force had structural engineers come and assess the monument. They determined that if they tried to move the monument, they would permanently destroy it. Still, the city of San Antonio pushed forward anyway. Many Texans believe this was done on purpose. They believed that the city wanted to do so to revise a more inclusive history and to change the way we think about the Alamo. The job of tyrants and busybodies is never done. When they accomplish one goal, they move their agenda to something else. In Texas, if we give them an inch, they'll take a yard. So I say, don't give them an inch in the first place. Not 1 inch. The hate Texas types use every tool at their disposal to achieve their agenda and discrediting and demeaning our history. That is why it is so important for the 87th legislator to pass HB 2713 and SB 1416. So with that, I'm going to call up our next speaker. He's a former real estate commissioner here in the great state of Texas, Mr. Weston Martinez. God bless Texas. I'll tell you what, we're not going to stand by and let anybody that looks like Santa Ana, is related to Santa Ana, or smells like Santa Ana, tear down any of our monuments here in this great state. That's right. Amen.
I look across Texas, I see people that still know what freedom tastes like. I see people that still know what a history book is supposed to say. Y'all know the STAR test this go around had a question in there about, do you know what a vaccine is for? Our state dollars paid for that. And right now, we've got people that are in my hometown. I call it the socialist capital of Texas, also known as San Antonio. We've got a group of people down there that they believe the history of, that it's not from Texas. They believe that the people that came into the Alamo, that they were pirates. See, most people don't know that in the Mexican school, they teach that Santa Anna was coming to Texas to take the pirates out of the Alamo. And he got their legislature to pass a bill or to give him war authorization powers. Remember, he thought he was a little taller than Napoleon from the other side of the pond. He actually got them to agree with him to give him the ability to come over here and do that. But let me tell you what, being from San Antonio, I can tell you that those people, like Councilman Trevino and Mayor Ron Nirenberg, have far more weapons at their disposal than even Santa Anna himself. And that is why we have to have the legislature come up in one voice and say that they will protect our Texas monuments. And it's not just... We have to have these bills passed. And you know what? It's because of the history that we don't know yet about the monuments that we already have. You guys might not know this, but we actually had the first black governor of Texas was buried in the Alamo as we know today. Oh, you didn't know that? The first black governor of Presidio was actually there, and he was buried in the first chapel that we see today. In fact, his name was Governor Blanco. Governor Blanco is descendant of a black person here in the state. He was governor of Coahuila and Texas. He was the first person buried in the Alamo today. Do y'all know that the Alamo that we see today is the third church built on that property? The first one was built where the current federal building is today, within the compound. If we're going to take it back, we're going to take it all back, right? Amen. I personally think we should reverse eminent domain the whole thing and make it the National Cemetery in Texas. Amen. And honor all the lives that are there, because all these people that want to revise history, again, let me get it completely accurate for you. The first burial in the current third chapel is a black Presidio soldier named Juan Blanco, killed by the Indians. His great-grandfather was Governor Victor Blanco, first black governor of Coahuila in Texas. You see, a long time ago, there wasn't a lot of Anglos in Texas. Some of y'all might not know that. But our history is our history. What are we going to learn about our history tomorrow that we don't know today? That's why we need to honor what's taking place. And when we look at things that are being done by either a state agency or a rogue mayor, we have to unite in one voice. This is exactly why we limit our government to meeting in the state legislature every other year for a limited number of days. Because we don't trust politicians. And that's why we have to put people over politics. And these people that are here today, that serve, that have the opportunity to vote on these bills, 2713 and 1416, they need to make sure that they are out there promoting people over politics. What will they try to take down today that we don't know about tomorrow? What kind of plans are they conspiring? You know that the original founding priest of the oldest mission in San Antonio is not allowed to be remembered in the history? The reason why is because UNESCO World Heritage, aka connected to the United Nations, says that he enslaved Indians, Native Americans, and forced them to learn how to read, write, and farm. Ladies and gentlemen, when we talk about our history being revised, it has been happening long before these two bills got before us today. And I'm thankful that this group, this is Texas Freedom Force, has been on the front lines of defending the Alamo, defending the San Jacinto Monument, defending Goliad, and remembering what we have at stake here. And to you legislators that are watching, some of y'all hiding in your offices today, let me tell you what, not only are these eyes watching you, but the eyes of Texas are watching you. And you may want to run for something some other time in your life, but I guarantee you, we're going to take a short dally and take you out the backside of the pasture and make sure you can't do anything to it. Now, my name is Weston Martinez, and I swore oath like many of y'all. And I guarantee you, there's many more of us behind me that we don't know and we don't see here today. So God bless you. God bless the great state of Texas, and God remember the Alamo, and God protect our Texas monument. Thank you very much.
Very much, Mr. Weston Martinez. So now our next speaker is former representative as well as the Agriculture Commissioner, Mr. Sid Miller. Good afternoon, Patriots. Good afternoon. Thank y'all for coming out for this great cause. You know, as Agriculture Commissioner, we are kind of the Chamber of Commerce for the state. So I travel the globe promoting Texas and Texas agriculture. And I'm just telling you, it's the easiest thing out there. You know, everybody wants to do business with Texas. I mean, they see this hat, this gunfighter vest, the West Texas accent. They find out you're from Texas. You got it. That's it. It's just easy. And the reason is, it's our heritage. And that's what these monuments are about. It's preserving that heritage. It's our Western lifestyle. It's our family values. It's our rural heritage. It's everything that's dear to Texas is in our history. Remove our history, we're no longer special. We're just like the other 49 states, right? Well, that's why it's very important that we preserve everything that's Texas. They can say you can always tell Texas, right? You just can't tell us much. All right. Everything's bigger in Texas, better in Texas, and our history preserves it. So that's why we want to work on this monument bill. We're down to 3 days. We've got to get this calendar on the House floor and passed. The Senate bill hadn't even had a hearing yet in committee. So it's a long shot, not a very good long shot. The House still has it, and we just got to move. We got to get it set. We got to get it on the House floor, get it off, and send it to the Senate. So I know y'all are here to help do that, to push that. I've been working on this issue a long time. In 2005, when I was serving in the legislature, I filed the first monument. I actually passed it out of committee, got it in the calendar, got it out of the calendar, got it on the House floor. It was just about to pass it. I fought off dozens of liberal amendments to gut it. Successful on all of those. And then my Republican colleagues turned up.
That's right.
Or we wouldn't, if they hadn't done that, we possibly wouldn't be here today to do this. We'd have been the first state in the nation that would have, passed a monument protection bill. And it was a good bill, reasonable. So we've been struggling with that ever since, but I appreciate everyone here. It means a lot to me getting these monuments preserved, whether it be, preserving the Alamo, San Jacinto, Sam Houston, Davy Crockett, Space Center in Houston. We've got so much Texas Rangers taking those guys' statues down right out of the airport in Dallas. Couldn't believe it. So anyway, God bless y'all for what you do. Let's keep working. Let's don't give up. Let's fight to the very bitter end. Thank you. God bless you.
So our next speaker that's coming up represents the Republican Party. I'm going to introduce
Jill Glover.
Thank you. My job is chair of the Legislative Priorities Committee for the Republican Party of Texas. And last summer at our state convention, our delegates decided that protecting our monuments and statues in the state of Texas was so important that they voted to put that in the top 8 of our legislative priorities. So I am thrilled today that we are here discussing the importance of monument protection, and we urge the state legislature to pass these bills that will protect our history. The Bible tells us that we are to teach our children history, and these important monuments and statues tell us the story of our history. And we need to be able to point to these concrete monuments and things that represent what our forefathers have done for us. The Republican Party of Texas is blessed to have a gentleman who is serving as our historian. His name is Dr. Tim Wesley. He is I believe he is a Texas Freedom Force member. Very eloquently about the importance of our monuments, and so I'd like to turn it over to Dr. Wesley.
Hello, Texas. Hello. I'm pleased to be here and honored to be here today to speak on monument protection. As I've traveled throughout Texas and I've talked to people about protecting our monuments at different times, I remind them that the monuments that we have throughout this great state, some of them you may love, some of them you may hate, many you may not even know exist. But at the end of the day, they're still history.
That's right.
I point out to people that the moment that you begin to allow monuments to be removed, you're now allowing people who are dead set on revising history an opportunity to do just that. If the monuments stand, whether you like them, love them, or hate them, that gives people an opportunity to reflect on history. How can we truly say that we came from a place if we don't know where that place was? If we don't know what that history represents? And I challenge people to ask them, how long before the monument that you love is now the target? At one point you'll say, well, I love this monument, but I hate this one. But at a certain point, someone on the other side will say, I want that monument removed as well. And we have no substance, no foundation of which to say, this is our history. We learn from history. This history, if you've got a monument that one exists that you don't like, maybe you hate it because it ignites some emotional memories that are bad. This should also ignite those people to fight harder, to strive more, to push, to preserve, to navigate to higher grounds of history. If it's something you love, you should be able to speak about that thing you love and why you love it. Our history books, they're continually being changed. They're continually being changed. It's harder to revise a history if you have something solid and foundational to point to. A monument that's hundreds of years old, where you can say, this is substance of the truth, not what you're seeing in the history books. We have to understand that this history of these monuments, this was an expression of the people who created them. This was their expression. And so I challenge people, do we censor the authors of those expressions because we don't like the history that they created? No, we don't. Do we censor them? Do we apply today's standards? Think about this for a moment. Do we apply today's standards to history that was written yesterday? No. That's exactly what they're trying to do. When you remove a monument, that was someone's way of expressing themselves. And so to take today's standards and say, because this is not acceptable in 2021, we want to remove this monument. Incomprehensible. Incomprehensible. we have to understand that in this day and time, history, even if we do not like it, we stand to learn from it. It can be the best compass for us. We can learn from it. We have to understand that with this history, with the monuments, we're able to use them as roadmaps from the past, mapping pitfalls along the way to help us and ensure that we're able to navigate to greater places. Think about this for just a moment. What monument, what statue, what marker, I want you to leave with this, will be next? Which one will be next? I spoke at San Jacinto a while back, and one of the things I told the people, like it or love it, even if you hate it, at the end of the day, it's still history. If you don't like it, it's still history. If you hate it, it's still history. If you love it, it's still history. If you celebrate it, it's still history. Today, I challenge the legislators because we have an opportunity. We are in a position to cease a movement to destroy and ultimately rewrite an already written history. Remember, it is easier to revise a history which has been removed. It's easier to revise a history which has been removed. It's easier to revise a history which has been removed. Today, we have a chance to stand for what is right, to stand for history, to be able to say in 2021, these legislators, this is Texas Freedom Force, Texans around the great state of Texas, patriots throughout this great state, decided that we're not going to sit, but we're going to stand like an 11. It's still history. We must spare the future generations the pain and the circumstances of not knowing their history. We must spare them. We have an opportunity now to stand. Whether it's HB 2713, the Senate Bill 1416, others that we've been pushing from the Republican Party, HB 3013, HB 3584, we must stand to protect these monuments. I challenge you Texans today to call on, to visit, to email, to do whatever you need to do legally and ethically and morally to make sure that we put pressure on these legislators to let them know that we will remember that you did not stand for the right thing today, so that when tomorrow comes and you're wanting to be reelected, we will remind you that we're going to make you right. So as we leave with this. For anyone that challenges you, for anyone that says, oh, that structure is racist, oh, that structure brings back bad memories, oh, I hate that structure. Ask them, which structure do you love? Which one does represent your life? Which one represents you? Ask them how long before it's removed. Ask them, do you believe that history is important? Ask them those things. And at the end of the day, they may decide just to be controversial, just to bug you just a little bit. But I want you all to leave with this. Like it, love it or hate it, it's still